Hey everybody, what's going on? Chris here from Chris and G Travels. Today we have David. I have known David, man, we've been talking back and forth now, what, for like 2, 3 years?
I think so. I think since 2013.
Absolutely. So today's podcast, the main focus, David's experience that a lot of people haven't experienced, but they may experience, and they definitely don't want to experience it, is running into an RV that they just purchased new, and then having some issues, and then going back and forth with the manufacturer. I've been keeping up with David from beforehand because you're living down in Orlando, and then you eventually went full time, and now you're in your rig now. But can you kind of touch base on your motivation behind getting a rig and traveling around and deciding to buy new for your first rig?
So being a computer programmer, I can work anywhere I wanted. And I lived in Florida for 13 some years, 14 some years, and originally from Colorado. I am an outdoors guy. I love hiking, whitewater rafting, skydiving, skiing, you name it, outdoors, not indoors. And in Florida, pretty much you have the beach and that's it. So in about 2013, started on YouTube, and first two videos that came up were yours and Gone with the Wind. And I started following you the most and watching your trips to Alaska. Sorry, this is my pup, Buster. He likes to sit next to me. Started watching your videos quite frequently, going up to Alaska and missing Colorado. And when I was little, I had my pilot's license, but my parents are terrified of flying. So we traveled everywhere by car. And so doing that, kind of missing all that, watching your videos, I started looking into RVs. And that's when I started deciding, do I go new, used? Do I go diesel gas, and start researching that portion of it.
And how did that process go? Were you just doing YouTube searches? Were you doing Google searches, forums? Like how did you do your research?
Yeah, so for the most part, YouTube. Just going on YouTube, watching videos on why would I want to go new, why would I want to go used. Then I did do some forums with the gas and diesel, trying to figure out gas and diesel. Also going on Google Maps, checking out the locations that I knew I wanted to travel to, and finding out what the pricing of diesel and gas were, and then also the maintenance on the engine. So trying to figure out which one's more cost effective. So I did all that for about a year. This wasn't a quick decision. So I researched everything for about a year until 2014, when I made the decision to get an RV.
Mm-hmm. And then what did you end up choosing, and why?
Okay, so I did go with new. The reason I decided to go with new was that, yes, used, most of the time the owners get all the kinks out of it. One, I've never had anything new before. I've always bought used. I've used everything. So I wanted something new, and I could do new. The financing wasn't that much more on a new vehicle. I figured I might get a few little problems with an RV with a new one that would be easy to work out. I wouldn't have to buy an extended warranty until a couple years down the road because it comes with a warranty. So that was the decision why I decided to go new. Then going with diesel or gas, after I did the math on the diesel, on what would be cheaper, the diesel gas and the maintenance, diesel came out ahead. So that's why I decided to go with diesel.
Okay, and what brand did you go with, and what class of RV did you go with?
Okay, so that was one of the things that I didn't do much research into Class B, into the vans. And at this point in time, I might have chosen a van depending on the amount of water, portable water, that you could bring along, because I do a lot of dry camping. But I did go with Class B because of water, and it's just me, my two dogs, and a cat. So that's why I chose Class B. I chose Forest River because it's owned by Berkshire Hathaway. So I knew it was backed up by a good company. They've been around for a while. So I decided to go with Forest River. I also liked the floor plan that they had. with the Class B with the extra storage that this one has that I chose. And pretty much Class A was completely always out. I did look at fifth. No, let's back up. Never looked at Class A's. Didn't want to do Class A's. Did want to do a fifth wheel. But what I found out is with the Class C, because it has the engine built in, they'll finance the entire vehicle over 20 years. If you go with a fifth wheeler, as long as it's, I believe they told me if it was $45,000 up, they will finance the fifth wheel over 20 years, but they won't finance the pickup. The pickup is still 4, 5, 6, 7 years. So your payment will be most likely over $1,000, where this payment is under $500.
Absolutely.
So the fifth wheelers got pushed back, and that's why I decided to go with the Class C.
So you got the Class C, you did all your research, you are getting ready to take it to the gas station and fill up on, I guess, Class B, I should say. You got the Class B, you're ready to go fill up gas, and what was the process like going from picking up your new rig to discovering the first issue and trying to get it solved?
Okay, so I thought about how we were going to do this podcast and how I could help other people with this. My rig came with enormous amount of problems, like beyond probably what any rig should have had, and so I did have to go to an attorney, and we are filing a lawsuit. So I can't really talk in detail about it until the lawsuit is over. But what I can do is, and what I did, was make a list of things that I did not know that I should have known buying a new RV. So, for example, I didn't know the whole buying process. I think I watched one episode, Gone with the Wind, where they were talking about buying a new RV and what you should ask for below the MSRP. And it was anywhere from 25 to 40% below MSRP is what you should buy it at. And so I worked on the 40% and got pretty close to 40%. What I did not, and I watched your videos on how to dump the tanks, how to fill up with portable water, learned all that stuff. The only thing I did not learn is when you buy a new RV, what should you check? So when you buy a new RV, and the new RV, like mine was custom ordered, but let's say it was on the lot, you always do a walkthrough. They clean it up, and then you do a walkthrough and make sure everything is perfect before you sign the paperwork. No video that I found had a walkthrough or what I should be looking for in a walkthrough. And so being very new, the sales guy was able to trick me on a lot of stuff and get me right through the walkthrough within about an hour, where the walkthrough should probably last between 4 to 6 hours. So I made a list of stuff to talk about that I can't go deeply into my rig because of the lawsuit, but what I can say is these are the things you should probably check out during your walkthrough, and or definitely should check out through your walkthrough so you don't have problems like I do.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's hear them.
Okay, so first of all, I never even test drove my vehicle because I custom ordered it. I test drove another one. I also, once I found out the Class C vehicle that I wanted, I watched a video on how this one was able to do tight turns, do U-turns, and I was like, that's awesome. Because especially with my driving and where I'm going, I'll definitely be doing a lot of U-turns. But I never test drove it. So one of the things you want to do is if you custom order it or if you get a class or any kind of RV, before signing the paperwork, test drive that RV. And don't test drive it at 10, 20, 30 miles an hour on the lot. Take it out on the highway and get it up to 65 miles an hour and see if it makes any noises, if the doors make any noises, if the doors are loose. So you definitely get it up to the speed limit that you're going to be driving at frequently and make sure it's good and tight. When you're out there test driving, test out the windshield wipers too. You're going to hit rain, you're going to hit snow. Make sure everything that's on your steering wheel, the cruise control, what have you, make sure all that is working as well. One of the things to check out for when you're buying a Class C is also what are you going to be using your vehicle for, your coach for? Are you going to campgrounds or are you going to be doing a lot more dry camping? For me, it's dry camping. So make sure that the whatever your entertainment, the TVs, what have you. Make sure they run on DC, and make sure they work on DC as well. So start the generator up. Don't let them, if you're, most likely when you're at the dealership, they're going to have you hooked up to their power. Mm-hmm. Make them remove the power, turn on that generator, test out the TVs, turn off the generator, test out the TVs for an hour or so on the batteries as well to make sure that the batteries in the coach work as well and that they can run the TVs, because some of the bigger TVs, they may be DC, but they may only run for about 15 minutes before draining the batteries that came with the coach down.
Absolutely. And with the generator, real quick, do they come from the factory? Like, say you have an Onan generator, do they come from the factory with oil in them? Is this something that, like, you should bring generator oil with you to the dealership to put lubricant in that engine before you test it out? Like, how does that work? Do you know? Like, did yours come with oil?
Okay, so I was told that I was supposed to get a diesel generator, and it would run off the diesel from the RV. Came to find out my sales rep was wrong, and it was my sales rep that was wrong. It wasn't Forest River on this portion, but it came with an LP generator, so it runs off the propane. So it's not. I kind of wanted diesel. There's more maintenance with diesel, but it's easier to fill up and get diesel than just driving in and getting the propane. Mm-hmm. However, you have less maintenance with the propane. Still, one of the things they don't tell you is you still got to change oil. You still got to change the air filter. It did not come with oil. And so you do want to check and make sure that it has oil. Make sure it's at the right level. They didn't even show me how to check the oil on the generator. So those are some of the things you want to do beforehand. Make sure that the oil's in there. Make sure it's at the right level. Make sure you check that before you go out on your first trip as well.
Absolutely. Sorry. Continue on your list there.
Okay, so let's see. I can't go into details about mine, but here's the thing. Make sure you pull out the slide out. So if they do a thing where they have coaches on both sides because it's a small dealership and they say, hey, this is the button, this is what you push to make the slide out go out, and it's pretty, no-brainer, good to go. No. Make sure you test the slide out. Tell them, no, pull this coach out, let me test that slide out. Make sure that slide out, the rubber on the sides, check the rubber, make sure it's not brittle, make sure it's not breaking, make sure it's good. Make sure it's sealing up the slide out. Make sure the slide out's not crooked. Check the floor. Pull the slide out in and out a few times. Then check the floor. Make sure it's not scraping up against the floor. Make sure it's not tearing up the floor. So check that slide out a couple times. If you have multiple slide outs, do it on each one of those slide outs. Because after my issues and after researching, I found out that slide outs are one of the big causes. There's a lot of causes of water coming in, and it's one of the things that people take into the dealership a lot for warranty work is the slide out. Mm-hmm. Check all the cabinets. Take your time. Open up every cabinet. Check the hardware. Make sure it's loose. Jiggle it around a little bit. Remember, you're going down the road, so the whole coach is going to be rocking. So jiggle. Take your time. Jiggle it. Don't be afraid to jiggle it and make sure that stuff's nice and tight and isn't falling off. Check the toilet cover. Same thing. Make sure that's nice and tight.
And this has nothing to do with your rig. You're just saying this off the top of your head, right? Like,
I'm saying that I've had my issues, so I'm adding everything that I've had to go through.
Okay. Fair enough.
And so, yeah.
Not referencing your rig in particular, just saying in general, right?
Correct. In general, I mean, I'm sure I've had some of these issues, so I'm just putting this in as well.
Fair enough.
Okay, another thing, and I'm sure you're aware of that in RVs, the refrigerator, when you plug it in or turn it on for the first time, it doesn't get cold like a normal house refrigerator does in about a couple hours. It usually takes about 24 to 48 hours. So before you go in for your walk-in, ask them, tell them, make sure you have that refrigerator turned on. And I want to check the temperature of that refrigerator to make sure that the refrigerator is going to keep my food cold. Check the freezer, check the fridge, bring a one of the things you probably buy after you get the RV is one of those hanging thermometers. Mm-hmm. get that before you buy the RV and bring it with you. Set it in there and make sure it's set to make sure your food is staying warm, and it's not at 60 degrees and stays at 60 degrees. Not saying that I had that problem, but hot water heater. So again, they're going to probably hook you up to shore power, to their power. Tell them to unhook the power from them and turn on the generator. Make sure that your hot water heater, like on mine, is electric and propane. So if I'm hooked up to shore power, I can use the electric and not the propane. If I'm not hooked up to the shore power, I can use the propane to heat the water. So test both of that. Make sure that the hot water's that it's working on both sides.
That one is actually very, very true, because that's one where they have to kind of go through the extra effort of, filling up your tanks, opening up that hot water valve, because some people don't know your hot water tank actually has a valve on the outside of it. So say you winterize your hot water tank, you can empty that out or put RV antifreeze in it and you close it off. And if you don't open that valve, your hot water tank isn't going to fill with water, and you can actually damage your hot water heater. So it is like not a big process. It's probably more than most dealerships are wanting to deal with, to actually fill up your hot water tank, turn that generator on, and make sure that your hot water heater is working both on the propane as well as the electric water heater. That's some steps I definitely don't think very many dealerships at all would take. And that's something that when you're out dry camping like you're doing, that's quintessential. You have to have that.
You've got to have that. So I have a 1,000 Trails membership, and I can stay at a campground for 2 weeks at a time, and then I have to leave for 7 days. And even though I have that, when I'm at the campground, I can hook up to electric, and great, I have electric hot water heater. Most of the time I'm dry camping, which means I'm running off propane. And when you're at the dealership, it's the person walking you through is also your sales rep, and your sales rep, all he wants you to do is sign that paperwork to make that sale.
Absolutely.
So he's going to push you through as fast as possible to get you back in to sign that paperwork. So,
absolutely.
Yeah, take your time and make him say, hey, you know what? I get that I'm going to be at a campground and I'm hooked up to electric. I'm also going to be doing dry camping. I need to test this out.
No, absolutely. Like, I think that's a very important point that you just said, is their goal, like, you have a chain of operations from when you step into that dealership the very first time looking at a rig to getting you out the door with the keys in your hand. And there's multiple people with multiple steps, and each person wants you to be done with them as quickly as possible to get to the next chain. Once you're done with that person, they're trying to get you done as quick as possible to that next person so they can all get their little pieces of the pie throughout the process. And one thing I didn't realize is taking their word that things were going to be fixed after I signed that piece of paper, which, now sitting here talking to you about it, like, we can both laugh about that and how ridiculous that statement actually is. But when you're buying a rig for the first time, especially when you're buying it new and they've been so nice to you, and it's like, oh, they have my back, they're looking out for me. And then right when you sign that paper and they hand you the keys, they're like, well, they give you a little pat on the butt as you walk out the door and they're like, good luck. And then you're done. Like, they don't want to, their goal is to never see you again, right?
Their goal is never to see, the sales rep, I'm done with you. I made my sale. Goodbye.
Right.
And the thing is, and even when you're doing the walkthrough, if you find a problem, don't worry. We'll take care of it. Let's just get you some paperwork.
Right.
And then but they don't tell you have to make an appointment, which is probably 2 months out.
Right.
So you've got this coach, and you're waiting for 2 months to get in there to fix the problem, and it might be a problem that you can't even go on a trip with. And so you're sitting on this coach. So if you find a problem and they're telling you we'll fix it right after, that's a little thing, no big deal. You do not sign that paperwork, even though it might be weeks down the road. You do not sign that paperwork. You do not take that coach home until that is fixed.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a very big, important thing to know about. Is there anything else on your list there?
Yeah, so, check the heat, pull out the electricity and turn on the heater. You may have a heater that runs on electric like I do, and then also a heater that runs on propane. Pull that electrical cord out and check and make sure that it's going to run on the propane as well. AC, start the generator up. Make sure it's going to run off the generator and not the electric. Again, if they have other coaches up against yours so you can't pull out the slide out or the awning, say, no, I want that coach out, and I want to push the awning all the way out and check the stitching on the awnings, because that's another big thing that goes out is the stitching in awnings. So check that stitching and make sure that all the stitching in the awning is good to go. Storage bays on the coach. Check every single one of those locks. That's another big thing that goes out is those locks. And it's not that they break on you. They don't open back up.
Mm-hmm.
So you might all of a sudden have to go get a screwdriver and scratch the paint trying to pry open that door. Or if it's a wet bay door and you have to dump the tanks, you're in there with a screwdriver breaking open that door trying to get open.
Yep.
Don't be afraid to get up on the roof. I didn't do that. And go up there, check to make sure that it is a good roof. Make sure that they didn't make a mess up there with Dicor splashes all over the place. Just go up there, make sure it's clean. Make sure if you have a Class C where the bunk is attached, make sure it's sealed good with caulking.
And real quick with Dicor is a all-purpose RV sealant. It's amazing stuff, and pretty much every factory uses it. That's what Monaco used on my coach. And if I have to do any roof sealing, like we plan on using a diesel heater in here, when I have to seal around the roof, I'm probably going to use Dicor. It's amazing stuff, but it can get incredibly, incredibly messy.
Very messy.
Yes.
And the thing is, like, I'm not going to speak specifically about mine, but let's just say you had a coach and whoever was doing it splashed Dicor all over the roof. Is it going to make a difference on driving the coach? Absolutely not. If you go to sell the coach, and let's say you have a picky buyer and they want a clean roof, yeah, it's going to bring the resale value down. So definitely get up there and check and make sure it's a clean roof.
Right, because it doesn't stay white. That Dicor is going to be up there collecting that road grime, collecting all that brake dust, and it's going to be these black, tarry patches on a roof.
Yep.
And if somebody's getting up there looking, they don't know if that's Dicor. They don't know if that's something breaking down on that roof, right? So it could be an issue that you have to deal with later for certain. And it's not as easy as just getting a scraper out and just getting that Dicor off. That's not the way Dicor typically works.
Like, would be nice, but no.
Right, like maybe after 6 or 7 years, you might have a little bit better luck, but not right when that stuff sets up.
Yep, and that's the other thing. Even if it's little, you have to think of the resale value. So
yeah.
Say, no, you're not. This is supposed to be brand new, or even if it's a used one and they are supposed to keep it cleaned up for you, say, no, this stuff needs to be fixed before you take it, because even though you may be okay with it, the next seller may not be.
Mm-hmm.
So another thing, again, back to pulling the shore power, check your entertainment centers. Check. You may have outdoor speakers and indoor speakers. Check every speaker. Make sure that the indoor speakers work. Make sure like on mine, I have buttons that can do the right speaker, the left speaker. Make sure every single speaker is working in the coach before you take it. Bring something in the microwave. Try the microwave off, or try the microwave out. Make sure it cooks, and not on electric power, on the generator as well. This one I don't really care about. I'll tell you. If you put food in the microwave, mine would blow it up on the generator. So they did replace right away replace my microwave. But try, before you pull it out, put something in the microwave, test it out. Don't be afraid to say, hey, go get me some food and try out the microwave.
So can you explain what blowing up food is? Like what? I've never seen food blow up in a microwave. So what would happen?
Okay, so on mine, and they've already replaced this, and this isn't part of the lawsuit. So I mean, it is a problem that came with my coach, but they did replace the microwave quite quickly. When it was hooked up to electric power, 80% of the time it worked fine. But then all of a sudden you would hear this high-pitched squealing noise for a second, and then boom, the food would blow up. So I'm guessing it had a power surge. If it was on the generator, it would happen probably 80% of the time. So it flipped. It happened more on the generator than it did on the electric side. But it did work. I mean, it did on both types of electricity. It did blow up the food. But you would get all of a sudden a high-pitched noise, and then poof, the food would blow up inside the microwave.
That's crazy. Yeah, I've never even heard that happen.
Yep. So that was one of the things they had to replace, and now it's working fine. So
well, that's good. No more blowing up food.
No more blowing up food. Yeah. One time my first trip, I went to see my family for the holidays, and my mom was in the RV, and she's like, "Do we need to get out of this RV now? Is this thing going to blow up the RV?" I mean, it was loud.
And real quick, before you get back to your list, you said the holiday season, so this has been over a year process for you.
I purchased, or let me rephrase that. I ordered my coach in, I think, the beginning of October of 2016.
Okay.
Or it was either August or September of 2016. I custom ordered it. I took possession of it I believe on October 31st. It was a couple weeks late. So took possession of it October 31st. Had to work through some problems in the beginning before I could leave. So I didn't take my first trip until I believe the third week of December. I was able to make it to my family's house the night of Christmas Day.
Oh, great.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Got hit in a snowstorm in Tucson, had to stay the night at a rest area. I mean, I got broken in really good.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
This RV. Yeah. So now instead of doing the electricity, they may have you hooked up to their city water, to the water on their on the premises. Unhook the water, have them fill up the portable water tank, and then start checking the water, the faucets, make sure everything is running both on city and on portable too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let me see how I'm going to phrase this. The warranty manager at Forest River did say that some of the vehicles that they released, the propane tanks were raised too high. So my advice on this is tell them, because most of the time when you buy a new vehicle, they're going to fill your propane tank. They're going to fill up the gas just like you buy a new vehicle. So when you leave the lot, you've got a full tank of gas and a full tank of propane. However, before you do your walkthrough, I would call them and tell them, don't fill the propane tank. Wait till you get there and have them fill it in front of you, so that way, if you're down the road, you know that there's not going to be a problem with your propane tank, and you're not trying to get it fixed on your first trip. And you may have to get it lowered, you may have to get it tilted, because if they can't get, like at a normal gas station, if they can't get that hose into your propane, you're not getting propane. And if you're in the middle of winter, you've got yourself a problem there.
And this is just not related to your situation and not your coach. This is just something that you're letting people know about, right?
Right. So, I mean, Forest River did tell me a lot of coaches went out with the propane tanks raised too high. So when you're down the road and you may find out that your propane tank is raised too high, you may not be able to get it filled.
Gotcha.
And if it's in the middle of winter, that could be a problem. Take the time, check the fire detectors, the propane detectors. Also, one good thing to do to check out the wiring of the vehicle, especially the 12-volt wiring, bring an inverter. Just a normal, 125-watt inverter that you could get at the auto parts store. They're inexpensive. Bring your laptop, plug the inverter in, plug your laptop in. Your laptop's probably going to draw 90 to 100 watts. And see if it can pull, if it's able to charge your battery. If you start getting errors in the inverter, that is probably a good sign that there's some kind of problem with the wiring of the coach.
Mm.
Or if it's blowing fuses too, because 100 watts, because it's 12 volts, probably 5 amps. So, and most of the 12 volts is on a 15 amp circuit. So if you're blowing fuses, you've got a problem. So that's one thing to check for. Go outside of your coach and take your finger and pull on the windows to make sure the windows are tight. So if you're driving down the road, the windows aren't going to blow out on you. Because there are some windows that are loose, and you want to definitely check and make sure those windows are nice and tight on you. So make sure you check every window of the coach. The entertainment center. You may have multiple entertainment centers. You may have one up in front where you're driving. have them bring a DVD along and check the DVD, because the thing is, if they forget to attach the parking brake, forget what it's exactly called, but it's like the parking brake cable, because while you're driving, if you put a DVD in, it's not going to let you because it knows you're driving. But once you're stopped, you can put a DVD in if you pull up on the power brake. If they forgot to attach the cable, you don't get to play DVDs. So give that a test out as well. But that is pretty much the gist of my list of things to check for on doing a walkthrough. And pretty much my best advice is, don't get in a hurry. Don't let them push you.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them that you're going to take your time. Don't let them push you around. Say, hey, this is my coach. You're paying, anywhere from $50,000 to over $100,000 on this thing. So take your time. Check every little thing that you can on the coach before taking it. And if you do find a problem, don't sign that paperwork. Make them fix it first.
Absolutely. Never sign that paperwork. I think it goes along with what you're saying there. And what I learned is don't necessarily think that they're your friends through the process. Because again, once you sign that piece of paper, then it's pretty much goodbye and good luck. Yeah. So definitely don't sign that paper.
It's yours now, and they're not your friends anymore. That's your coach. Sign the paperwork.
Absolutely.
Now you get to go deal with the service department and getting scheduled in for service.
No, absolutely. No, that's fantastic information, and I think it's very pertinent right now with all the people buying RVs now, and going out there on the road, hitting the road, doing what you're doing. Living the dream, working remotely, being able to work where you want, live where you want. But all in all, even with all the issues, you've had an extreme case. Not saying those examples or anything you experienced, but it sounds like you've had a little bit of a hard time with your rig. Has it been worth it?
Yeah, I mean, my rig's been in the shop more than I've had it. But the little bit that I've had it, sorry about that.
No problem.
The little bit that I have had it, I got maybe 2 months out of it when I first bought it, and it's been amazing. Especially the dry camping. I didn't think I was going to like the dry. I bought the 1,000 Trails membership because of the shore power. You get electricity, you get water, and I thought I was going to need that. And especially being able to work, working and what have you, I need the electricity. Totally did not need it. I don't use it at all. I dry camp probably, heck, most of the time I stay at Flying J's and Pilots dry camping while I'm driving. I probably dry camp 99% of the time now.
Same.
And absolutely love it. I'm at the belly of fires right now and saw the most amazing sunset last night. And being able to work from it, yeah, it's totally worth it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like when we first started, we went to our first RV park, and we did pretty much the same thing with the walkthrough that you did, where it was a little bit more of a rush situation. We probably got like a 10-minute walkthrough, went through all the systems, like this is the button for this is the button for that. That's how you do that, and nothing was actually turned on and maneuvered. You know what I mean? Right. So when it came down to our first RV park, it was just trying to get everything all figured out, and we got the power and we got the water and everything, and it was cool, and we were kind of crammed in there. And then compare that to our first boondocking spot where we filled up our fridge, filled up our fresh water tanks, filled up our drinking water, and went out to BLM land where it was free. There was nobody else really around. We did a bunch of hiking, a bunch of trail running with our dog, and just working, and then seeing the sunsets, enjoying nature. There was no going back. Like in 2017, 2017, we stayed at 3 RV parks, and one of them was here in Arizona when it was G and I's anniversary. So we went out to a spot. We were trying to boondock, but it was too hilly and remote for the Class A. So we ended up having to go to an RV park. And every time we went to an RV park in 2017 was because we had no other choice. It was because it was late at night and we were just super tired and wanted to stay somewhere, or we wanted to visit a spot and there was no boondocking spots around. So I totally understand what you're saying, and it makes it even better when you're able to wake up, it's remote, you're able to work all day and what you want to do, you're able to hike, you're able to be outside, then come back to your rig, shower, eat, cook food, and just hang out, and it's absolutely free. You're being powered by the sun, and you're just using minuscule amounts of water with your daily activities. It's a fantastic experience for sure, and that's why I mean, you see behind me, that's why we're building this. I mean, it's cool because it's a school bus, but as well, it's able to carry all that material, all the fresh water, all of the boondocking gear that we need to be able to go out to a spot and stay for 3 weeks to a month. And that's the goal with this thing, is to be able to tow a car, go out boondock, and just do, what you're doing now, just a little bit extended.
Yep, exactly. That's one thing I wish I miss about having a Class A, is you get to take a little bit more portable water. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I did was I bought 6-gallon tanks at Walmart, and so when I'm going boondocking, I stop at a Flying J or wherever, or a visitor center, fill those up with water. So the coach has 35 gallons, and then I bring another almost 40 gallons of water, and that lasts me 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. So I can stay out for 14 days.
Absolutely. So if you don't mind, let's touch a little bit on your work. So you're able to work remotely because you work with computers, or you worked with computers, because now you're thinking about getting out of that. Like, how are you able to get a mobile income, and any advice for people looking into mobile incomes?
Yeah, so my background's computer science. And so I do a lot of web designing. I do a lot of what is called API work, where you're connecting two systems together so they talk to each other. So I do a lot of APIs. I do a lot of website designs. I do a thing called merchant services if the client needs it, where they need to be set up with credit card processing for their e-commerce store. So I get clients that need web design. I have residuals that come in from the merchant services. And pretty much as long as I have internet, I can work. And I have T-Mobile. I pay $70 a month for the unlimited T-Mobile, and then I pay another $25 for unlimited hotspot. I don't know if they still have that, but that way my laptop can connect to my phone, and I have unlimited internet. And so far, and then of course I have the cell phone booster from, is it WeBoost? Yeah, WeBoost.
WeBoost, yeah.
I have a WeBoost cell phone booster that helps quite a bit, and I've never had a problem with that, and having internet. So I've gone to many BML parks or land and been able to work and take the dogs out and hike and come back and work, and it's been fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any advice for people, say somebody's looking for a career change, somebody that's looking to find a mobile income, whether they're willing to go back to school for 2 or 3 years, or just take an apprenticeship, or just take online courses? What would be the course of action that you would suggest for people that's possibly interested in doing your line of work?
Yeah, so if you like being in front of a computer, and for me, everyone says when they watch me write code, they're like, "That's Greek. That's the hardest thing I could ever do." And to me, it's the easiest thing. It's like very simple logic. It's like learning a new language. Yeah, like learning Spanish. It sounds complicated until you do, and then you find out it's not really that hard. And with the computer science, same thing. So when you see someone writing code, don't be scared that I can't do it. It's actually not that hard. And it depends on what you want to do. You can go back to school. Most of the stuff I learned in college for computer science, I don't even use. Mm-hmm. Everything that I learn is away from school. Not even, you get the basics, but even that is very little what I do. Most of it is you pick up books and you start reading the books. You take some online classes because the stuff's changing so quickly. So the stuff that I learned 15 years ago doesn't even apply today. So one of the best sites is lynda.com. And just like a YouTube channel, I wanted to learn how to use Adobe Premiere. Never learned that in college. Had no clue what Adobe Premiere was. Went on lynda.com, took an 8-hour class. I'm good to go on with Adobe Premiere.
Absolutely.
Same with computer programming. If you're wanting to get into website design, take a class on WordPress, take a class on CSS. If you want to get into real programming, take a class on Python. That's probably, there's Ruby on Rails, but I would definitely suggest Python. Python's a great language to learn. It's very easy. and it has a great debugger. So if you make errors, it kind of tells you what you did wrong. So, and get online and take the classes. And it's not, the thing is, it's not going to take you 2 years. You can definitely get up and go in and get a mobile income coming in within a few months of taking classes. And then there's places like Upwork.com that you can go on and get jobs, start off with little jobs and work your way up to bigger jobs.
No, absolutely. So two things with that, like Linda is an amazing resource, but with programming, they have websites now like Treehouse and Code Academy, and what's another one? I mean, all you have to do is a quick Google search for coding language online courses. And I mean, they have boot camps now where you spend 4 weeks to 5 months where you learn computer programming. And people think it takes, oh, I don't have enough time. It takes so long. I won't be able to learn it. But when's the last time that you tried to be productive throughout the day and you go to bed and you're just like, what did I do today? You know what I mean? Like where if you just concentrate and turn off your phone and sit in front of Linda for 8 hours and learn Premiere Pro, you learned a skill, editing, where you can go on Upwork and just starting out you can make $10, $15 an hour. And when you're out, easily, especially if you're based in the U.S. Yep. Like if you're based in the U.S., there's no language barrier. You're able to talk to people. You're able to get it figured out. You make $15, $20 an hour. And when you equate that to being out boondocking, you're not paying rent. You have an RV payment, but you have if you finance your RV, you have the RV payment, you have your phone payment, and you have insurance for the RV, right? And that's how much it costs for you to be living totally in that day. And if you're not making, right, so if you're making a little bit less money, but you're still doing what you want to do, in my eyes, I think it completely comes out even, right? Because
oh man, when I first did this, I created a budget, and I always try to stay on budget. So with the RV, I created a budget that I thought I would be at, and all of a sudden, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, now 6 months, and almost a year now, I am way under my budget on what I thought it was going to be. And compared to living at my house full time, this is way cheaper. Even with the payment of the RV that I have every month, I am saving money doing this, and I'm getting to do what I want to do. I'm able to go and see these amazing places, and I'm not stuck in a 5x5 room or office every single day at the same place working. So, yeah.
So where's the next traveling route for you?
I left. It's been a whirlwind. I left about 2.5 weeks ago from Orlando, Florida. Got the coach back finally, and from there I have been to Alabama, Louisiana, Texas. Up to I have 20 acres in Colorado. Went and checked out my property in Colorado. Then I went over to Salt Lake City because I have a buddy that started a pet store or a pet boutique with boarding and grooming, and so I'm getting a store like that going in Colorado. So I've been over to Salt Lake, down to the Valley of Fires in southern Nevada, heading down to Blythe, California to see a buddy, and then over to LA for Christmas, and then back to Colorado. So it's been quite
busy.
A few 2.5 weeks, yeah.
That's fantastic. Once you go back to Colorado and you start your new business, are you going to be set in Colorado for a while, or are you going to set that up as like a mobile income? Do you want to get that up and going, then have somebody else manage it, or are you just going to be living out of the rig? Like, what's your plans with that?
Okay, so I purchased a foreclosure in Colorado, property land. Doesn't have anything on it. Got a well permit. Doesn't even have a well yet. It's up in the mountains, middle of nowhere. It's about probably 40 miles from the town I grew up in, Salida, Colorado. And so that's a home base. And so I'm gonna build a house, and I'll probably always have. I don't know if I'll always have this RV. There's a good chance I'll probably go down to a Class B. Because I'll always travel. But I'm going to be opening up some pet stores or pet grooming sites in Colorado and have that land because I do have a house in Orlando, and I'm getting rid of that just because having two large dogs, it's just, for them, it's just much more fun to have the big land to run and then be able to travel. And I've been doing computer programming for, I don't know, 1999 I've been doing computer programming for.
Wow.
And I am, yeah, if you know me at all, I am a huge pet guy. I love dogs, cats, all animals. And so I'm doing a change. And the thing is, I'm still doing computer programming on the side, doing our websites, doing the PBX as a phone system. So if you know Asterisk, that's another great programming language to learn is PBX, and especially Asterisk. You can do businesses' phone systems, and they run off the internet and saves them a ton of money, and it's really good money. But I'll be programming the different phone systems and what have you. So I'll still be doing a little bit of computer science, but I'll also be getting to work a lot with animals. So
that's awesome. So you're kind of transitioning from what you've done before into what your true passion is.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Well, yeah, for those that don't know, like all my websites, like you actually steered me clear of a pretty big mistake I almost made with RV and Tech, dealing with Brickwork India, outsourcing some work that didn't turn out so hot, and I got pretty close to making a pretty big mistake. So yeah, like you've definitely helped me with all my websites, and like the website I just launched, schooliegear.com, like just helping with all that. So I greatly appreciate it. Like I've become more proficient with it, but from when we first started conversing back and forth, I had no idea. So I appreciate your help with that, helping me learn all of that whole aspect. It's a whole different world.
Yeah. You have to be careful. Don't click on any links. If you hire somebody and they want you to click on a link to go to their site so that they can see your computer, don't do that. Just a couple of days ago, while I was up in Salt Lake City checking out my buddy's pet store, the lady up at the front desk who was answering the phone calls got a phone call and said, "Hey, your computer's acting up. Can you go to this website so I can help you out?" And I immediately heard that phone call. Hang that up, because as soon as you click on that link, they can put a Trojan on your computer, and they've got everything that's on that computer without you knowing about it. So
wow, opportunists, right?
Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing when you're looking for website designers. Make sure you read the reviews. Make sure it's just like Amazon. Make sure it's at least 4.5 stars, 4 stars, and multiple reviews before you let someone access your website or create a website for you. Because they may create a website for you, and you don't know it, but there's a Trojan on the back end collecting your customer's information, and they're off seas. They don't care, and the person that could get in trouble or even get sued is you. So
right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you want to add? Anything about the RV life? Anything about your experience that you think people should know?
Definitely do it. I mean, even all the problems I've had, it's amazing. I know a lot of people that always say to me, "Man, I wish I could have that life." Well, I thought that too for a year, but you just got to do it.
Right.
And do the research, and now, take your time when you go through the walkthrough. Don't let them push you around on that part. And you're always and even when you do the walkthrough and you take that coach home, you're still going to have problems.
Mm-hmm.
And 6 months down the line, something's going to break. But if you're living at home, something's going to break.
Absolutely.
So you just deal with it, and just remember that you're free, you're enjoying, you're getting to travel, you get to see things that most people don't get to see. So it's well worth it.
Absolutely. I think it's more of a you got to have that mental stability going into it, knowing that something's going to go wrong. And I think it might have been, I don't know if it was Socrates or Plato, but one of them said you can't choose what happens to you, but you can choose how you react to it. And
Exactly.
A lot of things, like not even like obviously with the RV, but even with the bus or anything with relationships, family, friends, or whatever, like you can't choose what happens to you, but you can choose how you internally process it and then reflect that back into the world. That's where you can really develop yourself as a person, right? So when you're doing the RV life, like for example, now when you plug in your microwave and it works, when you hit that hot water heater button and it works, whenever your slide goes in and out or whatever, it makes you appreciate it more, right? Because you're able to, like, you've been through it where it's been bad, so now you're able to appreciate it for it working. And that's what I've really noticed with the RV now. Whether I'm, I say this before, but when I go to a restaurant now, I always turn the water off when I'm washing my hands, in between, because I know how much water that's wasting from the RV. So
that's another big thing.
Yeah.
I had no idea how much. Yeah, and it's amazing how much I'm conserving, and because before 10-minute shower at home, no big deal. Now I take a 30-second shower and save a ton of water.
Mm-hmm. It's I guess the overall arc is, it's such an educational experience, from making you appreciate things to also the internal dialogue that happens whenever something does go wrong. It really does put things into perspective, and the cost reward of how much time are you wasting being upset over something versus just dealing with it and getting it done. Because whenever you're actually out there enjoying the road, all the bad stuff, everything that happened before, just gets silenced. It's an educational experience. You can try and laugh about it in the future, but it's definitely educational, and you just got to make the best of it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, stuff's gonna go wrong. The microwave blew up food. All right, I have an oven, no big deal. Don't use the microwave. Or, I'm out here in, hiking, and I could be at home inside of an office. Yeah, I'm gonna have the same problems there. It's just, instead of getting upset and being, hitting the RV or kicking it, saying, no big deal, it's easy to fix, I'll get it fixed. I'd rather be out here with my dogs and hiking than at home and having a water pipe break at home. Who knows? So
absolutely. Yeah. Well, hey man, I really appreciate your time. If people wanted to, I know right now, starting your business, being on the road, getting the RV, I don't know if you have a blog, any social media. If somebody was wanting to follow any of your travels or any of your businesses, do they have a way of getting a hold of you, or right now you just concentrating on being on the road?
No, I do have a website. It's twopupsandacat.com, which is the number 2, pups, P-U-P-S, capital N as in November, cat, C-A-T.com. So twopupsandacat.com. I was doing really good at keeping that updated. Then, of course, the RV, I had to take the RV in for months. They had the RV for months, repairing it. So I'm working on getting just a travel blog up and going. I would say in the next 2 weeks I'll have it more updated. Like I was talking to you, I got the 360 video camera, the Samsung 360, so I'm going to be uploading a lot of 360 videos on it.
Cool.
But yeah, if you want to follow me, 2 Pups and a Cat, and I'm going to do my best to keep that updated.
Awesome. Easier said than done.
Easier said than done, exactly. Yep.
Well, hey, thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Hey, thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
You too.